Armando. He is one of our top MCPs for sure, and always such joy and positive as well. So really have an asset here within your market center. So happy to be able to co-teach Griffin today and share on our AI. So a little bit about me. I've been with KW now going on 16 years. Started with our own Thai business center up in that particular neck of the woods. Started actually as our Jokies. Well, actually, really the only admin since like their mini MCA up there. And eventually went into transaction coordinating for quite some time. Obtained my license as well. And throughout all of this, have always been involved in anything coming from technology down the pipeline from KW. You know, we've had many different iterations, and even at MLS levels and such like that as well. So I've always appreciated being able to learn and take on our technology. And so that's how I found this particular role and being our regional tech trainer. So as we're going through, we're going to be taking a look at our AI playbook today and covering these 9 topics here. So when dealing with AI and technology, you know, everybody's on a different path or a different journey. Right? So how many of y'all are currently using AI in some form or fashion today? Good. Okay. That's what we like to see, right? We have to. So that's why we're all here today. We're going to be going through kind of setting the tone, looking at our mindset, and also what maybe changes we might need to make to our mindset, and kind of taking it from there. Oh, okay. So, with our mindset shift, I want to go ahead and take a look at the 7 myths when it comes to AI and real estate. So there are quite a few that are actually spread up here, a few more than just the 7. But as we go through this, has there been any that you're seeing, and it might be a little small for some of you, that y'all have actually wondered yourself when it comes to AI, right? Whether it's got human-like understanding. Pardon? Right? So a lot of us think maybe AI wasn't for me. But as the show of hands went here, right, it's for absolutely everybody and every single one of us going into this. Perfect. So, when we're looking at our AI language models here, pardon me, getting over being sick too, so I've got a lovely little rasp to my voice, and hopefully you'll put up with me. So anyways, with our 7 myths, we have that human-like understanding, right? And we know that's not necessarily the case. While it can give us great information, we're going to learn to use it in our business, we know that it really is just a predictive model. It learns from the vast majority, finds out the best algorithm, the next pattern in words or response that it needs to find, and gives us that. So it's not taking you out of the business, right? Not at all. You can't be in a room, right, and reading, or well, you are, rather, reading the room and getting, you know, the empathetic tone as your client, your buyer is pulling out their hair, right, feels about to explode. You're the one in the room with that empathy, right? We know that AI is never going to be able to replace that particular aspect, right? It does not have that human understanding, just the pattern response. And also, like you said, being able to, you know, that we need to be techie in order to do this. We know it's simple as just talking to an, right? And so that's really what we're going to get familiar with today is what is the best way for us to actually communicate with AI, right? And use it to our advantage. Now, one that I'm glad we're going to raise our hands on here is ample time available to adopt AI. Y'all, anybody go to a family reunion? No? Okay. So between the social media con that was up there, we're talking about jumping into social media and do use of AI. We have to. Yeah. Absolutely have to. The time to implement is now. We're at a time where we have the ability, we're on the cusp, we are looking for the ways to actually use it in our business, because if we don't, what is going to happen?
We're going to lose business.
We're going to lose business. We are going to fall at the wayside. So it's not that AI is going to be replacing agents, but the agents that use AI will replace those that don't. So we do need to incorporate it into our business some form or fashion. So let's go ahead and jump a little bit further and talk about our two different buckets that we have for AI use. Now, all AI breaks down to these two, whether we're going to use it to generate leads and get stuff done. Now, at Keller Williams, we do have two different playbooks, one of which we're going to be covering today, which is the get stuff done. Because in order to actually get to the point where we can use it to generate our leads, we need to be able to master the basics of just using it and getting your things done, right? Using it as the assistant to leverage that work inside of your business.
For some of my regulars that come to my command classes, we built on this together. It's funny because as soon as I started talking, they all smiled. I explained to them, the more time you put into utilizing AI to simplify the stuff that you don't want to do, like, let's be honest, sending an email, remembering a holiday, things like that, that can be really critical to your time that you can maybe put towards maybe generating actual leads. I've shown you guys the way that we plans and different things within ChatGPT or whatever AI platform we're working on. You guys are seeing the benefit. I think we've gotten a lot of communication back from it, so we're going to touch on that a little bit later, but just wanted to make sure I nailed that point.
Awesome. So in order to really grow on this, we need to figure out and discuss really what powers the LLMs, or the large language models. So going into our large language models here, right, we have 5 different categories, right? Understanding what that large language model is, being able to pick our LLM, personalizing it with a master prompt. So we're going to spend a little bit of time here today and talk about these tools right here. So your LLMs, right? Very complex algorithms with all sorts of information. But what it really is at its core fundamentals is taking any of your input, right? Text, images, files, your words, right? Then adding that engine in there, that predictive language model. And it's going to, whether you have other connections or otherwise, use that information to then generate your output, right? Simply just by using predictive algorithms. So it begs the question then, when we're talking about these different predictive algorithms then, what one do I need to actually use and get familiar with, right? So it leads us to actually picking our LLM. So these likely look familiar, right? To everybody up here, you've seen a number of these. Every single one of these is going to have its own layer. And you may be wondering, if there's so many varieties of, LLMs, which one do I need to choose? Why are there so many? Do they really make that much of a difference in how they process information? But if you think about it as an assistant, someone who has spent a lot of time researching a particular aspect, right? If we look at perplexity here, if we have somebody who's very analytical, right, your analytical assistant, who has spent years looking at all sorts of different technical documents, they are very focused on the details of a matter, right? They're going to come up with a less creative output than maybe someone who's spent their entire time in the arts and creativity. So what we see with each and every one of these large language models is that they have their own personality, right? Their own flair based off of what they have spent time inviting and taking in. So ChatGPT, right, the one that we're generally all familiar with, is your jack of all trades. It's been one of the first and foremost inside of the AI technology. A lot of us use ChatGPT as the, we'll say the Kleenex, right, of the brand. It's very well known, but it really does a little bit of everything for you, right? Has very few weaknesses, great jack of all trades. Now, Gemini is, of course, Google Best. And I think it was Neil Patel when we were at CEO Summit, he was talking as far as these LLMs and who's actually using the most AI and web searches, right? We're not talking about GEO today or generative engine optimization, but what it was referred to with Gemini was that since it has access to the open web more regularly because it's backed by Google, which is a giant search engine, right? It has the ability to get that real-time information, and because it's integrated with your Google system, right, we can have it look at your Google documents, look at your calendar, all of those things that are integrated. Now, thankfully, how many of y'all use your KWU.com emails, which are backed by Google? Got a few. You have access to Gemini. Now, there are a few parameters on there where it has a little guardrails, and you might not get the actual, full version of absolutely everything, but Gemini is at your disposal and something that you have available to you at no additional cost outside of what your dues already are. Pardon?
It can bug me a lot. Like you said, I'm not going to period, or do I change period? I mean, grammatically, it really helps.
Good.
Yeah, I think for me too, with Gemini specifically, I do see some, like you said, guardrails. Some of the results that you get there are a little bit more protected, a little bit less creative, right? So this is why with ChatGPT, when she says it is like the jack of all trades, you can literally go in there and you can be from any realm of business. It doesn't have to just be real estate, and it will scout the internet to find you the best resources for you to find what it is you want to do, right? So if it's communication, or if it's a script, or if it's a presentation, ChatGPT, in my opinion, has been my safest use. Yeah.
Absolutely. With Claude's quickly kind of rise. I started with a paid plan with Claude, and at the time I needed something that only ChatGPT could do. This was over, year and a half, maybe 2 years ago or so. So I kind of stuck with Chat, but I might be switching back to Claude soon, as far as it being my primary. But if we think of these as different assistants, right, or different tasks that we need to accomplish, right, we're going to put the best intern, essentially, who can handle that, the best assistant. So that Claude one, right, they are a polished writer. They are a nerdy coder. All sorts of stuff that I won't say necessarily you should do, because is it worth it to spend, since you can use it for coding and such, vibe coding as they call it, do you need to spend a couple hours trying to proof a vibe code of something? Likely not, especially if you can get it for like a $5 or $8 subscription, right? However, it really does excel at those natural conversations and that creative kind of workflow, right? So a great editor for you to use, Claude being that polished, creative writer, as it were. Talked a little bit about Perplexity, of course, being your answer engine. Because it has that analytical background, it's not looking at trying to make things kind of quote-unquote fluffy, right? It's going to give you more of the facts of the matter. It'll be a really good source to take a look at facts and data and actually prove and give you the source base, right, and cite that information for you. So as a researcher, Perplexity is a phenomenal tool. And then Grok, of course, is your, what they say, edgy brainstormer. Because it's plugged into X now, or formerly Twitter, it has a little bit more context as far as like slang and general.
It's with the culture a little bit more.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With the culture, and can also have a different view of world events and everything as well. because of kind of where it sources its information. So each and every one of these has its own flavor. And depending on what task we want to accomplish, we might pick the one best suited to the task, right? But is there any wrong choice when it comes to your LLM of choice? No, right? It's what you're going to use, right? What you're comfortable with. Most of these all have, they all have their free version to a degree. A lot of the subscriptions can be as little as $20 and of course range upwards from there depending on how many features. But I'd recommend definitely investing 5-10 minutes of your time, create an account on each and every one of these just so you have it available to you. And then you can use your assistant of choice and maybe even run a couple of your most common tasks or problems really through these and see which one you're kind of vibing with most, right? Which one feels a little bit more intuitive to you. Like I said with Claude, I like that they have their little artifact section, which is what they consider basically anything that you ask it to create as far as a document or any sort of like tangible piece of document or whatnot. They have this lovely little artifact section where it kind of keeps that all gathered. I just love the flow of that.
Organization on it.
Exactly.
Rather than having to scramble through your ChatGPT lists and see it all there.
Love that.
Compartmentalizes it separately.
Questions on picking or choosing your LLM? Or on? Yes.
Do you think there's one? I've sort of noticed that these AIs are starting to pull like multiple AIs into one. My thought is like Gemini is probably connected or has the ability to connect to a lot of different things. Her Claude is too. Which one do you think is like moving in a direction where I don't want to have too many AIs? Which one is going to have the most spot? Like, what do you have?
So, thank you. Pardon me. One moment. Sorry. We'll get rid of this cough, I swear.
Oh, that's so sick.
That's what Armando was telling me, so I was like, okay, good, with my people. But anywho, Neil Patel, when we were at CEO Summit, Gemini, as of late, because Google has really shifted their position in what they are going to be integrating, like their trajectory right now is skyrocketing. They are the largest search engine currently. Suddenly got very loud once that went down. Here. So I would say Gemini would probably be a good one. Followed closely by like ChatGPT and Claude. ChatGPT has, of course, led the charge from the beginning and has a lot of integrations. But people are switching to Claude right now for other reasons and all sorts of whatnot. And they have been cranking out some amazing features and tools. So I've already been leaning towards Claude over Chat in some instances. And I think Gemini is just going to skyrocket from there.
Thank you.
Great question. Okay. So once we have our tool chosen, really the magic starts happening when we start personalizing our AI assistant, right? Being able to make it know what we want to do, right? Be our assistant. Mondo's assistant, different from my assistant, right? And be able to really personalize it from that point. So we're going to look at personalization and memory. So that personalization really is acting as your default set of instructions for all your interactions. Now, each LLM has essentially their own settings, configured in each one, and a profile. And within there, you can set this kind of master prompt and put your personalization in there. You're able to set like your expectations, your writing style that you prefer. If you want something that's generally professional with like a little bit of warmth and humor, right? We can put that in there and tell it exactly what we like to interact, how you want it to interact back with you. Do you want it to always give you, a summary? And when I mean summary, I don't want to read a couple paragraphs still. I want bullet points. There are things that you can put in your master instructions for your memory and personalization to help it give you the output you want. Just like with an assistant, right? We have an assistant start day one. If I give them no context about my job, what I want them to do, I haven't set them up for success, have I? Right? We need to give them the kind of guardrails, the information, and what I expect it to deliver for me.
Right. To add to that, one of the biggest things, especially if you, for those of you guys that I've had one-on-ones with, and I open up my chat, you guys have noticed the way that it responds. It literally talks to me like a person. I'll say, can you provide for me an email for a follow-up about an open house that I did for somebody? It'll say less, you got it. And then it'll give me it'll generate this paragraph that's completely tailored to me. Now, what I did to get it there, and we're going to get into it a little bit more right now, so I don't want to get ahead. What I did was I opened up my ChatGPT on the free version, and I turned the microphone version on, where it listens to you, it can talk to you. So what I did is I want to provide for you my tone and how I communicate. And I read a sentence off of a book, right? And then I said, this is how I speak. And then I said, I like to sound a little bit more relaxed, still like to use formal terms, all that fun stuff. And now every result that I get, it provides for me the same tone. It doesn't sound too crazy. It doesn't sound too, too sophisticated. It sounds just right, And in addition to that, since my memory is on and it does know that I have follow-up questions when I ask for a result. Now, instead of saying this, just the basic answer says, would you like for me to provide you a pack? Because my chat knows that I like to ask for a mass text, an email, an Instagram caption, just a bunch of different stuff. So yes, I 100% agree. Make sure your memory is on your AI assistants and that you are being yourself. I know sometimes we get scared, like we talked in the beginning, about it getting to know us too well, but that's okay. You want it to work like you.
Yeah. And you bring up a great point when it comes to knowing you and knowing you too well. Things that you would share with maybe a close confidant here, and you wouldn't mind necessarily it being known or left out on a coffee table or something like that, right? So maybe not your personal financial information. We'll get that a little bit later as we get down towards the end. But your ultimate goals, for your business, right? As we talk about 411s and your GPS, this is a great area to put in that criteria about your business. What are you looking to accomplish in the upcoming year? Personal and, or professional and personal. So are, you looking to, get on a exercise routine or help with, weight management, anything like that. So as you start using it in other areas of your life as well, you can have it feed in information to help you with that. Your personality traits, your quirks, just as you said with memory, right? So things that you appreciate that you don't want it to do as well, you can set up those guardrails inside your memory and tell it to, hey, remember this about me, and put it towards its personal memory about you. What are 3 things that you think you would like to tell AI right now about your business, or you think it would be helpful?
Ask it how to market better.
Right. Okay. So your focus would be marketing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably tell them amount of commissions that I made last year and how I can double that in 24 months or 12 months or whatever.
This is great. So now we're building on, even if we put these 2 together, right? What your production and details were from last year, where it sees room for growth, your current market, right? Whereabouts in business you are, your objectives to increase on marketing, and start feeding it those details about your business so that it knows for everything that we're going to prompt it to do, what it needs to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Everything, right? It's almost too much, right? We're going to put the focus. So while we're personalizing it too, we have the ability to like set that preferred communication style. So as you see here, there's all these different traits and such that we can use to help, describe it. Are we trying to appear to a younger demographic, right? Gen Z. My Gen Z conversation skills not that great. So maybe that's not my market though. So might not go with that. But I'd like to be a little bit more patient, definitely on how I'm approaching things. And I like to include skeptical, personally. Because I always happen to approach things with a skeptical tone with everything that's coming out. And so I always want it to question and double back on its response. Do we need it to be reserved? Do we want empathy? Now remember, it's not true empathy, but it's pretty good at faking it, right? So what qualities do you want to be included in your communication style? And that's something you can change or have different tones. Do you want it to respond to you in a very direct manner, but yet the materials that it's going to produce or scripts and such to be a little bit more enthusiastic and analytical, right? Putting all that inside of your preferred communication style within your settings, great way to set an expectation for your AI assistant. A few other things that we can include, right? Your personal insights. Starting, of course, what is it going to call you? Do you have a nickname? Two, you want it to call you boss, right? Big boss? You can absolutely do that. Your family or key people in your lives, right? Maybe what their schedules are or certain items about that. Hobbies and interests, things that you enjoy. What are your core values and beliefs? I think this one is absolutely critical when you are setting up and personalizing your AI assistant. What are the fundamentals for your business? For you, right? What do you always want it to take into consideration? Do you have preferences, right? Your diet, travel, movies, right? Because this is your life assistant, not just for business. And then those 3 personal goals, health goals and habits. And another one to definitely pay attention to, off-limit topics, things we don't want it to ever bring up into the conversation, into what it's providing. We want it to steer clear of politics, of religion, of anything of that nature. If you'd like, you can set those off-limit topics. One particular thing, fair housing rules, right? Ooh. I want to make sure that it is not doing anything to ever violate. So I'm going to put that in the instructions for memory. Any output that I'm dealing with when it comes to real estate, I want you to always look at it with a critical eye for fair housing guidelines and make sure that I'm never in questionable compliance. All right? So making sure you're off-limit topics.
In addition to this, she had touched on this a second ago about the 135. How many of us here know what a 135 is? Yeah. Funny enough, I'm going to piggyback off of JD being in here, so I'm grateful. JD, could you tell the room a little bit about what a 135 is?
Yes, it is your GPS. It's your instructions, your blueprint, your map, your instructions. One goal, 3 priorities, 5 strategies to each priority. So, for example, I want to close. One has to be a SMART goal too, measurable and time frame. Yeah, measurable and time frame. So my one thing would be to make 200,000 GCI by December 31st, 2026. That's my one thing. One priority would be 3 hours of lead generation daily, Monday through Friday, and then the 5 strategies would be breaking down those 3 hours on how I'm going to spend those 3 hours. Half hour doing social media, Monday through Friday, half hour doing follow-up, hour of CRM, and make sure you have that time frame.
No, I hate to put him on the spot like that, but the reason I brought this up was because it goes hand in hand with this exact slide about family, interests, things that you have to do. Now, if you're somebody like me that had a really hard time in the beginning setting your schedule, putting together your calendar, what should I do, when should I be working, when should I have personal time, if you grab your 135 and then you plug in this additional information, you can literally get a whole work space that you can transfer onto your Google Calendar, and now you literally know exactly what to do every minute of every day. Now, I can help you guys out with that separately, but I just wanted to make sure I threw that in there.
And that's exactly like what this personalization is for, using it to dovetail those two items together.
Mhm.
And I think you bring up a good point, like right with that calendar and schedule. If I give it just my work priorities, right, it can give me a great plan that's going to get me there. But if I haven't given it what my core beliefs and values are, right, that my family is going to come first, and I need to make sure that these non-negotiable times are set for my family, it's going to say, okay, work's the only thing that matters, and we're going strictly with that. And how many of that sounds great to you? No? Okay. So being able to personalize in here is so critical. Now, how many, while we're talking about GPS, goals, and such, have a KPA done?
You guys should all have your hands up. You guys should all have your
It was a fun questionnaire, little test that you did that gives you a personality assessment, right? Keller personality assessment. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yes.
Too many acronyms, I know. So that KPA, if you go through and have it validated with your staff, they can usually give you some information from that you can then feed into and provide as a file to your LLM of choice in connection with your goals and priorities. And you can have it ask and look for the holes in how you might respond in accomplishing your goals, right? Based off your personality traits. So if you're someone who doesn't like change, or maybe we have a couple weaknesses where we go too hard too fast and then everything kind of falls to the wayside, you can have it evaluate, right, based off of your personality, specifically to you, where are my gaps? Where might I naturally push back? And what are some strategies for me to accomplish those goals despite my natural inclination? Right? Because we're giving it information about ourselves, how we behave, and it can come out with some really great information and tactical tasks for you to, kind of get around that. Continue with your GPS. That's one thing. Here we go. We talked a little bit about this and the others as well, but goals, business metrics, right? Business pain points. That's all what we've been talking about when it comes to your what you're looking to feed it and personalize. The one on here that's mentioned is your ideal customer profile. Who is that? Who is your ideal customer profile that you are looking to attract? Is it going to be your first-time home buyers? Is it more for investors? So it knows as it's creating the material and approaching your plan what you need to focus on and tailor it to you. Right? So being sure to include all of these lovely little items inside. Anybody have maybe a few things that you're going to go and put inside of your settings and memory maybe after this? You? Care to share? What? I said care to share?
Share.
What you might...
Oh, I'm planning to input my personality results. Because sometimes, but especially, she's very soft. That's not my kind of tone.
Yeah.
So I need to remind, because Chad, it's been a long time relationship, so
Yeah.
he knows me better. With her, it's like I need to give her some insight, inputs of my kind of personality.
Absolutely. So one thing you can even do if you like the way that chat has been talking to you, you can ask it to actually provide kind of a markdown file on your preferred tone, your preferred output, and your personality and goals, and then have that actually input into Claude so it has kind of a short form to be able to talk to you the way that you want to.
So I'm getting to know God as mom. Chat is, he already knows me, and Gemini is more for task related stuff, so I use three of them. But yeah, if you're more into more friendly, how do you call it, LLM,
Mm-hmm.
is Claude for sure. Chat is more like direct. That's my take.
Definitely spend a little time in personalizing and it knows you too. Because
Yeah,
I know for mine, when I first started, both of them actually were far too complimentary. Like, they were like, yeah, that's a great idea. Like, we should go with that. And I'm like, that's not that great. I need you to not be so much of a suck up, right? And then challenge me instead and look to improve. I don't want sugar coated. I want that direct communication.
well, what I found with chat is if you tell him once through the chat, go through the settings, he'll remember. Yeah, so you don't have to keep reminding him, but you have to tell him. He's not gonna guess.
Yeah.
So you have to tell him, and
Love it.
Love it. Absolutely. So let's pivot then, and then let's go ahead and talk about perfecting our prompts. Now, when it comes to perfecting our prompts, we have our RICE method, which really goes over just the role, the instructions, your context, and then examples that we're going to feed it. And while this is not 100% necessary, right? We can ask very simple things of Claude or Chat or any of these LLMs and go back and forth and have a conversation to eventually get where we want to go. This particular format will help us get to that result, that desired result, a bit quicker, right? So, right, for role, we want to explain who the assistant is, right? How it should communicate, what is its main goal. So who do I want it to act in this particular instance? Am I doing my marketing and I need it to act like a expert marketer with years of experience with kind of an edgy approach, right? How is it going to communicate? Do I need to have it look at it as a, and we'll use this with a giant caveat, but do I need to have it look with a legal eye, right? To look for potential errors and holes and things that might come back at me. So we want to give it the role in order to tell it how it's going to behave in its particular prompt that we're giving. Now, with the instructions, right, we want to go ahead and tell the model exactly what we want it to do and what we don't want it to do as well, and set up those clear instructions or directions, right? We want to keep it concise, using clear tones and words in order to shape that response. This is where we can tell it just for the prompt there. Do we want it to come in with maybe a humorous aspect, right? Maybe we're doing some social media and we want it to have that little edge. So giving it the instructions of what we want it to do and the tone that it's going to communicate back into us. Now the context. Now this might be different files or data, other information that it needs in order to be able to accomplish what it is that you're wanting to invent. So do I need it to maybe review some of the latest market data reports and such, right? Latest comps or otherwise, and give it that information to actually know what it's looking at. Have this as an available option, right, when you're putting things together to dovetail or really isolate what it is that it's looking for. And then for your examples, right, do you have something you want it to actually kind of mimic and create? Is it a newsletter, a postcard, a certain marketing thing that you kind of want it to respond like, or a guide? You can give that examples and context in order for it to generate the perfect prompt for you. So let's go ahead and actually take a look. Swap actually. We'll use one of the examples that they have inside of your AI playbook. So everything that we're covering here is available on Connect within KW. So if you look at Connect within Command, you can search AI Playbook, and there is a full guide on all of this and in more in depth with like action items and things that you should take each step of the way. And so one of the examples that it uses when it's talking about the prompt, right, is for your role, go ahead and looking at it as an expert copywriter specializing in cold email conversion, right? Cold email conversion. So given it a role. The instructions that it's going to use as an example is to write an email using the PAS framework. Keep it under 150 words. The style should be succinct, conversational, and punchy, right? So it knows exactly what it needs to provide. And so the context, right? A target audience, such as investors with 40 plus single family doors. They value a high return on investment and off-market deals and want an agent who proactively hunts for opportunities. So we provided it the additional data and context in order to really give us the output that it's desired. And so the example for an ideal response would include a subject with like an off-market opportunity, zero competition, and then give us a sample for the body, which would be everyday. Investors tell me that finding high-yield inventory is harder than ever. Everyone's chasing the same deals. While most scroll the MLS waiting for inventory, we're sourcing direct-to-seller off-market properties with 9 to 11% cap potential. I've got a 12-unit in East Austin. It's perfect for light value add, clean financials, no bidding war. Do you want the details? Right? So by giving it some of the context that we're looking for, it can then go ahead and replicate our desired output using that RICE prompt formula.
A good example of what she's saying is kind of like what we did together in my classes, where we trained the AI to know about smart plans, right? You guys remember the first time I did it, I said, "What is a smart plan?" I asked AI, and it said, "A plan that is made with intellectual planning and everything." Like it was just like a very like honest answer. So what I did was, I know it's a little bit different to what we're talking about here, but just so you guys can understand, I took a screenshot of the page, the smart plan page, where it has like how you build it and how it says like the little description of what it is. So verbatim, it knew what a smart plan is internally and physically. Now, after I did that, it said, okay, great. It looks like this is a system you build on your own and you set delay dates and all this like fun stuff. So great. Well, what is a 36 touch? A 36 touch is a broad statement used in many industries. Who can tell me what a 36 touch is? Somebody in here.
Let me ask you.
What was that? There we go. 36 touches, 36 times throughout the whole year. Now, with that in mind and it knowing what a smart plan is, I said, I need a smart plan, email-based, let's say, for a 36 touch that I'm going to send to my real estate database. And it literally, they were here. I had people here that saw it. It built the entire plan right before our eyes. And all we had to do was copy and paste it into Command. And then for a lot of the people here, I already have it on and it's rolling for them. So yes, this is kind of just one way that you can use this method here. I did it a little different, but yeah.
But that's the exact like a use case, right? Mm-hmm. How we can use it in our business and by training it, getting it those training wheels and that really putting those guardrails up as far as what it needs to look at and what I want it to communicate. If we really start thinking of it like an assistant, right? And I just first day on the job, right? And we asked them, build the smart plan, and they're like, I don't even know what. Like, what are my tools?
They're writing it
right?
on a piece of paper.
Exactly. So letting it know in that context, or even in your memory, like what tools do you currently use? Mm-hmm. All of that helps provide kind of a rounded picture and thinking of it as literally training an admin and what it needs to do and giving it the resources in order to look for.
Another way I look at it is, like when you join the office, they say, we tell you we're going to Kellerize you. You almost have to Kellerize your AI. Because you're going to hear these words, these things, right? What is it? 135, 411, GPS, like all of these things, your business planning clinic manual, like all of these things you're saying, you could put those in there and it will give you solid results on what you should be doing. For those of you that need direction, right? For other of us here, like the ones that just use it maybe for captions and stuff, you can ask it to give you a whole library of captions for your Instagram. And you just put it in a note and you just go in there and grab them as you go. Cut them so you know which one you use, by the way.
So true. So they bring up 7 prompt hacks, and I think these are really helpful when kind of getting a little bit of refinement to whatever your output is and what chat or any of the LLMs go ahead and provide you. So of these 7 prompts, right, there's clarification, the first one. Ask me questions first. And to take that one a step further, you're going to ask it to ask you questions and in a successive order, waiting for your response between each one. So as I give it a task, we'll say maybe to write the SMART plan and do it for the Antelope Valley, and then I say, hey, is there anything else after we've given it the rice prompt, anything else you need from me? Ask me questions in successive order and don't ask me the next one until I've given you my response. So what that has your LLM do is think on its own, right? Get any pieces of information that would be helpful for accomplishing its task. But rather than just giving you like the 4 questions right then and there, it's going to take your response, right, and build and add in order to give you the next question. So it's getting a little bit more refined on every single question thereafter.
In a sense, it's qualifying you and what you're actually trying to input into it. So instead of it just giving you a generic answer, it's going to be very specific each time that you move through it.
Absolutely. Show your work and cite your sources, right? Straightforward. Now, Perplexity is great on doing that on its own, but if we are looking to do any sort of market research or anything like that, we definitely want to make sure that we have information to cite the sources, and as we'll look a little bit later, that we are verifying that the information is correct. Because I don't know about you, but I've definitely had some hallucinations from, chat, from Claude, from all of them really, where it is giving me sources that did not exist. So, therein, make sure that it is citing its work and sources. So the action plan hack, right, doing a break it down. Every time that you get your results and asking it to break it down, do you want it to break it down in a certain way as well? Do I want it to be in a successive steps or bullet points format? Using that to qualify and dive a little bit deeper and get kind of the summary there and steps that you need to complete is a great way in order to approach your next task. Options, right? Give me 3 different solutions. I probably use this one. Same here, because I could swim in too many options. 3 is about right. But to give me 3 different options and then possibly refine it from there. I've done that a lot with all sorts of, whether it's class titles or otherwise, Instagram captions. I want 3 options and then I refine it from there. But always giving me just a select few. Right? Giving those options. Critique your own answer. So you're asking LLM to actually think back on its own thought process and then look for holes really in its own line of reasoning or response there. Right? Having it critique. Is giving it a second opinion, right? And providing an alternate kind of point of view to its own answer. Blind spot. Very helpful, and I think especially if you're going into like a listing presentation, right? If you've provided the information, the details, comps, all of this and whatnot, and you want to go with what am I missing? What is my blind spot? Right? And have it come back at you and think of different approaches or different areas that you might have overlooked and missed, or itself overlooked and missed. And then a very helpful one, the Steelman hack, basically having it argue the opposite view, right? Proofing whatever it is that you've provided to it. You want to see the holes and flaws and see it from both perspectives and be able to understand that argument in both cases. If you're doing this also, as you were saying, on the voice chat, really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Driving in between appointments, making use of that road time for sure. Being able to talk back and forth and have it kind of argue that opposite view and think it through. Any on here that you plan to possibly use or are using currently that you love?
I think we'll steal my question.
Any of these prompt decks that you're currently using or plan to use?
Argue the opposite view.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's one that we forget, I think, a lot because we're focused very much on like our own view and our own perception. And so just that one of giving the opposite view, argue with me back, to be able to see all sides of a particular problem or issue. Your recurring tasks, right? Making it work for you. This is, I think, a huge part of the getting stuff done when it comes to AI. And simply like asking and having it create these recurring tasks to remind you at a set date and time, daily, weekly, or otherwise, and actually be your executive assistant. So is it every week, right? Or not every week, it's far more than that, every day, when it comes to your social media posts, right? And getting a fresh spin and idea and captions. Do I need it to do that little nudge and reminder, go ahead and provide me that information? Do I need a weekly check-in in order to establish what I've done as far as activities for the week in my business and where I am on track with my goals? We have the ability to simply tell your LLM, chat or otherwise, to check in with you at your specified time in order to help kind of keep you accountable, as long as you follow through, right, with the prompt that it gives you or the notification, and make sure that we're getting stuff done on time. Outsourcing it to AI to be your executive assistant. Using it?
Yeah.
Okay. Projects. Now, projects, we've all seen them kind of in the side. Chat probably has it the most prominent, I think. But along the side where you can set up your little, essentially like a project folder, right? Where everything involved with that particular conversation that you're having with chat is all just going to stay bundled together, right? This is really helpful if you're doing for a particular client or otherwise, right? You're putting maybe the notes from your conversation. Great tip, right? If you aren't yet recording your conversations with your clients with their permission, right? Sitting down face-to-face as you're going into a listing appointment and just saying, hi, would it be all right if I just record this for a transcription? It helps me stay present with you and make sure that I don't forget anything at the end of our visit. Would that be all right with you? And then we can go ahead and record that, have it give me a summary. I now know, what was your first name?
Edith.
Edith. I know how during the course of that, things that I promised to Edith during that listing presentation, maybe her preferred method of communication that she shared with me, some other tidbits throughout that process, taking all that information, having it give me that summary, and keeping everything with our deal and conversation inside of that project folder, right? And having it prompt me. So just helps keep things organized and be able to reference the most applicable information outside of the general AI, right? It's all going to be specific to my relationship with Eva. You can do that for any particular focus, yeah. So I have like my RTT and training one. I've got personal goals. I've got like all of these different threads. Even have like a medical one. Mm-hmm. So, all sorts of fun stuff. Perplexity Voice Assistant. Really all of them, right? We can use the voice assistant there. But very helpful because Perplexity has the natural inclination to look for like hard data points. Using this while you're in between your appointments and getting, information about local demographics or anything on your next listing appointment, being able to source answers really fast, checking with your emails or otherwise, they can do a whole lot. But making use of that voice assistant, even in preparing for your listing presentation, having it do some role play for you, right? Actually go back and forth, have it critique your tone.
Have you guys ever done that? No. I did it one time. It was very insightful.
Yeah. And when you tell it to be like brutally honest.
Too many saying like.
You said it this many times. I'm like, oh, great. Yes, thank you. I do need to get better at that. But have it ask and give you some like tips and strategies to work on, right? And how likely you might be in order to get that listing appointment based off of your presentation. So a lot of different ways that we can utilize that AI voice assistant. Your AI voice apps. How many of you have used Notebook LLM or heard of it?
Yeah, but I haven't tried it because I think it's very, complex.
So it's a phenomenal tool. The way it essentially works is an 11 Labs reader is very similar. I use Notebook LM. But Notebook LM is provided by Google or Gemini. So you also have access to it as part of your KW.com tools. But you get to set up the exact parameters of what you want it to look at. So for HOA docs, right? Things that might be very specific. And you kind of want to just get an overall information as far as the rules, regulations, or otherwise. You can throw that in there, maybe some local ordinances and otherwise, and it will generate a variety of different tools for you to learn and consume that information. So you get to specifically tell it only what to source. It won't look beyond that. And you can have it actually create like a podcast style learning, like 30-minute podcast for you to actually learn and consume the information in between like appointments on the road. I was doing one on the way up here as well. But it's a great way in order to help you digest large PDFs information in a different format. It'll create slides, flashcards, more audiobooks and such, but all different ways for you to learn quicker. So I know when we do get that large packet of information or those local ordinances that maybe we're starting out new in the business and I need to know a little bit more about, throw them all in there, have it give you an audio podcast, right? Maybe follow along with the flashcards or slides as well. But a great way to help consume that information and learn quicker. Yeah. That one's quickly become one of my favorite, and they just added that as part of our Gemini Suite tools, I want to say in the last 3 weeks.
Beautiful.
It's been really quiet. But yes. Love that one. So, putting AI into action, right? We have different ways that we can use it for our client engagement. Now, Armando talked about this a little bit as far as that 36 touch in the frameworks, right? Setting that up so we have our marketing system. The social media content creation. Message matching. Newsletter generators, relocation guides, housing reviews. All different ways that we can start to engage with our clients and have it create the marketing for us. In this day and age, it can be overwhelming, right? When there is so much at our disposal and the tools to be able to do it and create it. But if we're just time blocking a certain set, hour or so, and just chunking this down, so you have a marketing plan for your month, quarter, or year. Really have the tools at our disposal to do things quickly. You don't have to do it all, but starting in just incremental options. We are going to share at the end of this as well, have a little newsletter prompt for you as well that will allow you to create kind of a general market for your area, a newsletter of sorts, and you could put that inside of your 36 Touch, a monthly thing, and also it'll give inside of that prompt, it'll return to you another prompt that you can actually use inside of Nano Banana. And I'm sure y'all heard of like Nano Banana, great image creation within Google and Gemini. It does phenomenal image renderings. So it helps you with this, even if you don't have the images to go with your newsletter, your blog post, whatever it may be. You can use that prompt, throw it into your Nano Banana, and actually get a realistic image that'll match the content of that newsletter. So we're taking away, some of the fear, the heavy lifting of, sourcing the images and all of that, but being able to create it on the fly. Questions or ahas?
I think it's incredible. Go ahead.
It's such a funny name, right?
So that's the generative tool within your Gemini. So within Gemini, when you're asking for it to generate a picture, it'll say the little name at the bottom. So that's what Nano Banana is. Just for clarification purposes.
Thank you.
Any ahas today, guys? Don't all go at once.
Question.
Yes.
Do you know what AI that you had up there, or maybe there's a different one? I don't know if there is one where you could take like your presentations or like this class and upload it into an AI where it creates an AI instructor video. Have you seen that before?
Okay, so for learning or for like social media? Okay.
Well, mainly coaching. I have coaching programs, so we have a whole bunch of materials, and not all of them have videos to them. But I want to do the videos, and it takes me forever to record them.
So there is a product. Actually, this is a great segue. Keller Williams Focus over the next year is really for Command Just to be the platform that has connections for all of these other amazing tools that are excelling in their sandboxes. One of which is rejig.ai, REJIG.ai. They are penning that partnership literally right now and like what the details of that will look like. But there will be special pricing available for KW agents. Got a little sample of information on that, a little demo. Incredible. So it does so much from social media, local information off of like your local newspaper and whatnot, creating blog posts, content, social media, and all of that, and videos. But it also has a function there where you can give it some source materials and then do a AI clone of yourself, which is a little weird. I get a little weirded out, but it's very helpful, and can then narrate a thing. So that might be what you are looking for.
It's called Rejig.
Rejig.ai.
What great names.
And is that on the desktop or mobile? Or?
I think it's desktop only at present. I think they're going to be coming out with a mobile version. But desktop is the one that he showed me. I think you do get it on the phone, but he says there's something on there that's just a little hard because of space. But that would be one I would definitely look at. Okay, we are going a little bit over here, so I will try and get you out of here on time. Well, within the next few. With our marketing education and skills, right? Making sure we're using it for that role play, right? Back and forth, how are we doing on our appointments? Your social intelligence, competitive analysis, operations, especially if you are with a team, right? Giving it your full playbook and then telling, where you need to optimize, where are things falling off, where are we having friction within our team? How can we smooth that out? And then, of course, property and transaction support, using it as a condition consultant, using that visual to actually help, have it consume the information about the property, What condition might it be in? Using your home inspection, inputting it to find your red flags, getting inspection estimates, all of these variety of ways. Yeah, quite a few. And then strategy, right? Tax strategies, mortgage mastery. Now, with this being said, when we're talking about the variety of things we might be asking it for, especially as we go into money and information, we definitely want to talk about compliance tips because as we know, it can hallucinate and we are responsible for each and everything that we put out there into the world. Even if we're using AI, we don't get to use the excuse, well, it was AI, they said it, they did it. We're ultimately responsible, right, for what we put out into the world. So we're going to want to make sure that we are following the CAN-SPAM, TCPA Acts, our housing rules, which we talked a little bit about. With your CAN-SPAM, just making sure if we are using any automated messaging and such, that it does have an opt-out, which thankfully is built into your Command Smart plans and into any text messages and such that are sent through that system. So helps keep you in compliance. Okay? If you do not have copyright issue or rights to material, you generally shouldn't be putting them in, right? Especially with those images. And things that you eventually want to copyright, you shouldn't let AI do all of it for you, right? There's a lot of gray in the world right now when it comes to AI, as we are
further advanced.
Yes, and things are, shaking out in live time as to how everything will be brought out. So if you want to copyright it, just make sure it is not doing it all for you, that there is your human involvement as well to help refine. Protect your client confidentiality. Think of it, if you do not want that information, if it was left out on the table, is it the end of the world? Good judge, right? If I have something with everybody's personal information and socials and all this thing, that wouldn't be something I want to put, right? So we want to use some, common sense when it comes to what we're providing it, as, it can be used to train additional models and such. And then just verify the information. Don't just copy paste and think that it's all good. Have it do 80% of the work and you just do the 20 to review and refine, right? Have it have that little touch in there for you. And then just make sure that we are following any local laws that may be out there, that your broker might set. And then we're just keeping it ethical, right? Which we should be doing anyway and leading the charge on that. So with that in mind, would love to just leave you with this. Your next steps, if you don't have it already, pick one LLM, start using it today. Personalize that LLM with your master prompt, right? Putting in all of your details about your business, your goals, how you want it to respond, talk to you, and then practicing that RICE format for prompting and enhancing it with those 7 hacks. And then start just this week trying to have AI replace and help you with one task at least this week. So any ahas or otherwise that you want to share, I'll put that one back up there.
Did you guys have any questions maybe at the front of the class that you guys maybe wanted to ask Candace while she's here today?
Yeah, because later we're all gonna go to class. Damn. That's wonderful.
What was that?
Where's Mondo?
Mondo's fantastic, I tell you.
All right, well, if that's
Thank
all,
you
guys,
guys.
let's give her a big round of applause. This is not going to be our last time having her here, but she is amazing, and if I have any word on the next day, I will give you guys a heads up sooner than later. But for now,
I will be sending you guys a presentation because I saw a lot of you guys with your phones out, and then I can send you guys the playbook at the end of the day. Okay? We got a whole attendance sheet for who's here, so I won't forget anybody. Alrighty.
Okay.
Thank you guys. Have a
Armando.
beautiful day. Oh, thank you.